Hello, everyone. Easter blessings during this very special Easter week. And as I shared with you last time, what I'd like to do over the next few weeks is to dive into some of the beautiful resurrection stories that are part of this season. Today, I'd like to explore with you the beautiful story of Jesus, the resurrected Jesus, appearing to Mary Magdalene. And I want to begin by sharing the actual scripture from the Gospel of John, the 20th chapter, verses 11 to 18. Remember, Mary Magdalene had come with two other women, and what they were going to do was reverence the body, prepare it in a way they didn't have time to do when Jesus actually died, because it was Passover, because of the Sabbath. John's Gospel tells us, Mary Magdalene stayed outside the tomb weeping. When you've lost someone you love, you feel grief. And that grief is expressed often through tears. Mary Magdalene stayed outside the tomb weeping. And as she wept, she bent over into the tomb and saw two angels in white sitting there. Remember that the name angel means messenger. One of them at the head and one at the feet where the body of Jesus had been. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken my Lord, and I don't know where they laid him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus there, but did not know it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" She thought it was the gardener and said to him, "Sir, if you carried him away, tell me where you laid him, and I will take him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Stop holding on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and tell them, I am going to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord," and then reported what he had told her. Now that's the gospel story. Mary Magdalene, one of her titles is Apostle to the Apostles. The Greek word apostle means the one sent. And clearly in this story, Jesus sends Mary to proclaim the good news to his other disciples, the other apostles, who are in a room behind locked doors. In 1977, Franco Zeffirelli, an Italian film producer and director, produced and directed a British-Italian television miniseries on the life of Christ. It was entitled Jesus of Nazareth. It still makes excellent viewing. In fact, moms and dads, you can get the whole film on YouTube, free. In that series, Jesus of Nazareth, one of my favorite actresses of all time, Anne Bancroft, played the part of Mary Magdalene. The risen Christ asks her to tell the others, the other apostles and disciples, that he is risen. And she goes to the room where they are huddled behind locked doors, and she tells them, and her face is radiating with the joy that she has found the teacher. She has found this Jesus whom she loves so much, and he has risen from the dead. Can't explain it, can't fully understand it, but knows it's true, knows it's real. So she shares this with the other apostles. And they think she's gone batty. They think she's hysterical. She's hallucinating. And when she realizes that they don't believe her, she simply tells them, I did what he asked me to do. Power, and then she leaves. Powerful, powerful scene. Of course, shortly after that, Jesus will appear to the apostles, even behind those locked doors, and he will say, peace to them. Now, keep in mind, we talked about what Easter does for us. And we said one of those gifts of Easter is mission. We're given something to do. We love Jesus. We want to express our love in Jesus. It's going to involve service, some type of service. And that's what Jesus gave Mary Magdalene, was something to do. Go and tell people. So we could ask ourselves, how today do we share that good news? How can we communicate to others that Christ is risen? Christ is still alive, working here in our midst. I think we do it not so much with words, but with the actions of our lives. The kindness that finds expression in us. The generosity that finds expression in us. The gratitude that finds expression in us. That is a way that Christ is risen in us this Easter. That's a way that Christ is risen in your families and in our parish, in our city, our state, our country, and our world. Mary Magdalene was the first to witness and testify to Jesus' resurrection. As I told you, she is called the apostle to the apostles. Mentioned by name in the Gospels more often than most of the apostles. Mary and other women traveled with Jesus and helped support his ministry financially. It's very interesting when we see paintings of the Last Supper. We see the 12 apostles there, even Judas. But we don't see any women. So my question to all of you is, how many of the husbands cook? My father could barbecue, but beyond barbecuing, he couldn't do much. I guess he could light a match to start the stove burner. Even though they're not in the paintings, it's clear that women were an important part of Jesus's ministry. We all owe a great debt of gratitude to the women in our lives, because the women in Jesus's lives are the ones that first encountered the resurrected Jesus. They were the first to share that good news, even if, like Mary Magdalene, they weren't at first believed by the other apostles. Pope Francis drew attention this Easter to the role of women and the role they're playing today in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic that has hit countries across the world, infecting more than 2 million people, causing the deaths of more than 100,000 and paralyzing the world's economy due to enforced travel restrictions and quarantines. What we're experiencing ourselves, stay-in-place mandates for our own good, for our health. Pope Francis also recalled the many mothers, sisters, and grandmothers who are confined to their homes with their entire family, with children, the elderly, and persons with disability. Pope Francis invited his virtual audience to pray for them so that the Lord may grant them strength and that our communities might support them together with their families. And then Pope Francis added, "May the Lord give us the courage of women always to go forward." Women like Mary Magdalene, women like the three Marys that first came to Jesus' tomb on Easter morning. So I want to share with you a brief poem by John Shea and then a prayer by Joyce Rupp. Here's the poem. Like her friend, she would curse the barren tree and glory in the lilies of the field. She lived in moons and midnights, in those mounting moments of high dance when blood is wisdom and flesh love. But now, before the violated cave, on the third day of her tears, she is a black pool of grief spent upon the earth. They have taken her dead Jesus, unoiled and unkissed, to where desert flies and worms more quickly work. She suffer wounds that will not heal and enters into the pain of God, where lives the gardener, who once exulted in her perfume, knew the extravagance of her hair, and now asks her whom she seeks. What a beautiful image John Shea gives us of that Easter morning encounter between Mary Magdalene and between the resurrected Jesus. So I want to close this fireside chat with a prayer by Joyce Rupp. And the prayer is entitled, "Awaken Me." And it's addressed to Christ risen. Risen one, come, meet me in the garden of my life. Lure me into elation. Revive my silent hope. Coax my dormant dreams. Raise up my neglected gratitude. Entice my tired enthusiasm. Give life to my faltering relationships. Roll back the stone of my indifference. Unwrap the deadness in my spiritual life. Impart hardiness in my work. Risen one, send me forth as a disciple of your unwavering love, a messenger of your unlimited joy. Resurrected one, may I become ever more convinced that your presence lives on and on and on and on. Awaken me. Awaken me. So Easter blessings on you all, and especially the blessings to stay grateful and stay hopeful, and especially stay safe. God bless you all this Easter week.